Yeah, man, I appreciate your time here. I definitely want to talk virtual wholesaling with you because I know that's what you're good at. Uh,
Yep.
but before we get started, just for those who may not know, just, introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Chris Logan. My wife and I dove into wholesaling real estate about 12 years ago. And not too long into our journey, we discovered virtual to where we could actually do this entire business from home. So we didn't have to drive to sellers' houses, wait for them to show up, only to discover they don't show up, and then drive home and waste all that time. And we could take that time and focus it 100% on talking to leads and getting more deals. So we started out like a lot of people. We were in corporate America grinding away, and we just realized that, we wanted more time freedom. We wanted more location freedom. We wanted more freedom just in general, financial freedom too, to do the things that we really wanted to do. I didn't want to go to an office every single day and stare out the window, wondering what life could be like if I made a different move and really bet on myself. So we dove all in, and just 3 years after getting into wholesaling, we were able to leave our full-time corporate jobs and go into it full time. We grew our business to over seven figures, and now we're really passionate about showing others how to go about doing that and wholesaling house from home anywhere in the country.
Oh man, that's incredible, incredible. That's inspiring. So a lot of people go through that, their job, they're leaving a lot of people's going through that right now. They want to
Hmm.
leave their job, they want to get into wholesaling. Most people who start virtual wholesaling that I've met, they tend to
Hmm.
do so because they feel like their area is not any good. So
Yeah.
so pretty much your whole focus to begin with at the beginning was to do this just for more freedom, right?
Hmm. Yeah. In the very beginning, we wanted more freedom because the thing is like growing up, I saw so my dad would work for a lot of companies, right? And then the companies would go out of business or they would change direction, they would downsize and let people go. And it just gave me a very uncomfortable feeling with relying on a job income for my sole income, right? So in the beginning, I didn't really want to leave my job. It was all about supplementing my income. And then when I saw the potential in it, I took Jim Rohn's advice, famous motivational speaker Jim Rohn. He says, you work a job and then build a side hustle while you're working your job. And then when your side hustle equals the same amount of money from your job, decrease the hours at your work, and then pour money into your side hustle until your side hustle makes more than your job, and then you can leave your job, right? And
Yes.
so that was really the advice that I took and the way that we did it. Yeah, and that was really the biggest driver for me. And we would definitely not have been able to do all the things that we've done had we not made that move. But virtual right now, it's not just like going virtual isn't just like a cool tactic right now.
Yeah.
It's really the future, and it's the only way to do wholesaling because the states across the country are creating all these different laws when it comes to wholesalers, right? Now they're saying, you have to be licensed in certain areas. You have to have a real estate license. Some areas are saying you have to disclose X, Y, and Z to the seller. Some states say, you're not allowed to do this period here, right? And so really with virtual, and then other states, maybe you live in a territory that's pretty rural, right? That there's not a lot of houses being bought and sold.
Yeah.
You have a lot of farmland, acreage, all that, and so it's really difficult. So virtual gives you a lot more options. If rules change in your state, just focus on a different state, right? If your area is too rural, cool, focus on a different area, and it just gives you a lot more options.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. You know what you're talking about, that's for sure. So what do you recommend for people? Let's say I'm just getting started or I've been
Hmm.
wholesaling and I want to go virtual. Would you
Yeah,
recommend me do nationwide, one state, one area?
yeah.
Like what would you recommend?
Great question. So first thing I want to share with you is that, just because you go virtual doesn't mean you can't be in your own territory. So the very
Sure.
first territory that we went virtual in was our hometown, right? Because we knew the area and all that stuff. And we just happened to be blessed living in Tampa Bay, that it's a
Yeah.
phenomenal real estate market. Things have kind of cooled off here over the years, but it was a great territory. We just happened to be in a great territory. But if that's not you and you're not in a great territory, and I'll share with you how we identify that if you're just getting started here in a second, then going virtual in a different territory, maybe one that's an hour away, 3 hours away, 8 hours, whatever, could be a good move for you. So, what we typically find when you're going virtual, the first step obviously is picking a territory, right? So, we have a two-step formula that we use to identify hot territories. And the cool thing is you can do this with a free tool called Google. So all you want to do is you just want to go onto Google, and the first thing you want to do is pick a county, right? So most people that I find when they want to, they're looking into a territory. It's either A, because they lived there before, they live there now, maybe they have family living there, or they just thought it would be cool to do deals somewhere, right? And so most people I find have some type of place at the top of their mind. So what you want to do is you want to find out what county that city's in, and you want to plunk that into Google. And when you put that into Google, you're going to type in that county and population, right? And so what's going to happen is Google is going to come back and then tell you the population of that territory. Now, what we typically look for is a population minimum of 250,000 people. We found that in areas of less than 250,000 people, it's more of a rural territory, not really a major metro.
Yeah,
And you may not have a hard time getting sellers to say yes, but you're going to have a tough time moving those deals. So
true.
that's step one. The second step in that formula is going to Google and typing in that same county and median home price. So, what the median home price is, if you picture a house on a timeline, you have the $50,000 and less houses on one end, and you have the multi-million dollar house on the far right. The median home price is just as it sounds, like at the middle. It's the one in the middle. It's the most common type of house bought and sold, the house that everybody wants. And so we want that number to be a minimum of 200,000. Again, if you go less than 200,000, you're going to fall into a more rural territory. So when you
Yeah.
do that search on Google, you'll see a link to Zillow. You're going to click that, and that'll show you what the median home price is for that territory.
Wow. So so Chris, you're finding the market, you're finding deals, you're getting contracts, but what happens like you're not there. So how are you,
Mhm.
like meeting these people or getting contracts?
Yeah, great question. So everything is done over the phone with the sellers, right? So the sellers, we have this conversation flow that we take them through over the phone, and just by asking questions, the big thing we want to get is the four pillars of motivation. You want to get the condition of the property, the motivation, the seller's why, the timeline they're looking to sell, and price. And if you can get those four things, then you have everything that you need to know to be able to make an offer to a seller over the phone. Then the next step, what's really, really critical as a virtual wholesaler, okay, and this is probably like one of the number one things that I see that people do wrong when they go virtual for the first time. So this is huge. A lot of times, people will sign a contract with a seller over the phone using DocuSign or a signing service,
Yeah.
right? And then they'll immediately start marketing their deal. They'll try to find a buyer for the deal, right? And they won't be in constant communication with the seller. So the seller won't know what's happening next. And
Mm.
so what they'll do is they'll find they secure a buyer, then they go back and try to get the seller back on the phone. And the seller's like in the witness protection program, right? They
Yeah.
no longer answer their phone. They won't respond to text messages. The wholesaler's freaking out. So here's the problem. This is where most people go wrong. So the solution to this is um, doing one simple thing, and that is letting the seller know what's going to happen next, right? So, great, Mr. Miss Seller, you've made a great decision to move forward today. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Here's what's going to happen next.
Mm.
We're going to send out a property inspector that's on our team that's going to come out, take some photos of your property, and that's going to give us a good idea of the condition and see if it matches up to what we talked about here over the phone today. When would be a good time this week to get that done, right?
Mm.
So that property inspector is nothing fancy. It's just a local realtor in the area that you're going to pay a flat fee to go out and take pictures of these properties. They're going to take like 50 to 100 photos. And from there, after you get the photos, right, then you want to stay in contact with the seller. Hey, we got the photos. Everything looks good. We're gonna start our due diligence and keep you posted, right? If you have any questions, here's title company's contact information, and obviously you can reach out to us if you need anything, right? So we're constantly keeping in touch with that seller,
Yeah.
especially if there's like longer closings or the closings are delayed by like a legal issue or something like
Yeah.
that, right? So that communication is key, and that's how we do it.
Oh man, we've been on here 8 to 9 minutes and you've already gave so much game. It's awesome. Um,
I'm really passionate about other people having fast success, just simply because I didn't have that luxury in the very beginning. I learned very basic foundational stuff, and there were so many puzzle pieces that were left out from what I was originally taught that I said to myself one day, when I become successful at this and I get in a position to show other people how to do it, like I'm going to cut their learning curve down, right? And so,
True go giver, man. That's awesome. Um,
thanks.
so how are you, okay, realtor. So are you just, looking in the area at agents who've sold in that area and reaching out to them? Is that how you're finding these agents?
So there's two ways you can find agents, right? So the first way is going to a local Facebook group,
Okay.
right? A real estate investment Facebook group and say, hey, my name is so and so. I'm a new investor in the area looking for boots on the ground in XYZ, or looking for an investor friendly realtor, not boots on the ground. I'm looking for an investor friendly realtor. Um, who would you recommend? And then the person that's recommended 3 times, that's who you want to go with. You can also call a brokerage directly and talk with the broker and just say, hey, my name's so and so. I'm a real estate investor that's entering the X, Y, and Z market, and I'm looking to partner up with an agent in the area here that I can refer business to, and they can also be our boots on the ground in this territory. Who would you recommend? Right? And then they'll also tell you who they'd recommend.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's going to help people out a lot because you know how
Yeah.
new wholesalers are. We like to overthink and, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. So you would just advise, one step at a time, right?
One step at a time, one step at a time. And then after you've gotten your territory picked out, you have your property inspector lined up, right? The next thing that you want to do is you want to find your buyer first. So a lot of wholesalers, they'll lock up deals and they'll stress out hoping they're going to find a buyer only to have to drop the deal. Or maybe what they'll do is they will just keep getting extensions with the seller, hoping they can find
Yeah.
a buyer. And that's like the baloney against the wall method,
Yeah.
totally sets you up to fail. So the method that we implement is what's called the FYBF method, stands for find your buyer first. So basically, what we do is we go out and grow our buyers list. Facebook groups are a great way to do this. It's free, and you can get started immediately on it, right? And so you want to get your buyers list up to like 25 or 50 buyers, right? And then from there, you want to ask them what they want, the zip codes that they focus on, the zip codes they want to stay away from, and why, properties they like, properties they don't like, and so on, right? And then you have a really clear picture of what you should do for your marketing and the areas you should start marketing to. Then you just go out and find what they want, bring it to them. And when you do that, wholesaling becomes so much easier.
It sounds like it. So when's the last time you was in a house?
Oh my gosh. I haven't physically been in a house. It's been a long time. So long that I have to think about it. It was
Yeah.
probably 2018, 2019, maybe. So it's
Wow.
been quite a long time.
Yeah. So I was just in a house the other day and it was so horrible. I was just
Yeah.
running out, take off my clothes, go shower. So what you're talking about speaking to me. I've done deals virtually, but for some reason
Yeah.
I've just stayed local, man. I don't know what it is. I'm in a rural market. I'm in West Virginia. So everything that
Oh,
you
yeah.
told me, I'm sitting here like, oh well, you know, I don't have 200,000 people in my area.
Yeah.
And it's just making me want to expand a little bit. So, are
Love
you
that.
only doing deals in the Tampa area, or have you advanced and are you, all across the country? Like, how are you doing your business?
Yeah, great question. So the three markets that we mainly focus on right now are Florida, North Carolina, and Texas.
Ooh,
But
nice.
we have deals nationwide, buyers nationwide. We joint venture with our coaching clients and doing deals, and other wholesalers have seen how fast we sell deals, and so they bring us their deals, and our team will sell them too. So
That's awesome. Um,
yeah,
when you go into a new market that you don't know, definitely like
yeah,
Texas, where everything's
hmm
private and you can't see what things are selling for. How
yeah.
how are you recommending people to, comp? Are you using agents? Are you
Yeah. So what we use is we use batch leads.
Okay.
Batch Leads, and Privy. Both of those tools have direct connections to the MLS, and we have them both simply because they both provide information that the others don't, right? So I have a real estate license, which is helpful. Not in Texas though, only in Florida. And so with Privy, I can give them my license, and then I can see MLS data that the average person couldn't see. But even if you don't have that, it still provides you the sale prices, which is the big thing in a non-disclosure state. Because in a disclosure state like Florida, where the county publishes sales publicly, it's not a big deal, right? But if you're in a state like you said in Texas, that's a non-disclosure state, then you have to have tools to help you on that. So those two have been the most accurate tools that we've seen. And another plus with Batch Leads is they give you free skip tracing with it too, with a membership, along with being able to pull lists from there and everything like that. So it's a really great tool.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that for me.
Hmm.
A lot of people who are getting started, they're learning from YouTube, get started in real estate with no money, which
Yeah.
obviously you can do, right? What would
Hmm.
you recommend though? Like what type of budget would you recommend someone to have if they're just getting started in a virtual market?
Yeah, amazing question. So, in a perfect world, if someone could start with a budget of $300 a month,
Hmm.
that would really set them up for fast success because they're going to be able to get a dialer to make cold calls, right? So they
Hmm.
can reach out to people really fast. They're going to be able to get their lists. They're going to be able to get those phone numbers for that list. And then from there, again, that's just going to set them up on a path of like fast success, right? But there are people that come into this that, you know, maybe they don't have a $300 a month budget, right?
Yeah.
So for people like that, you can utilize free strategies. Like you could call for sale by owner records. You could call
Mhm.
for rent by owner records, right? You can call code violation records, fire damage properties. Like the list and opportunity is endless. The biggest thing that I would say for people getting started is to check the mindset, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people get started and like, oh, I can't afford to get started, this and the other. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something that I probably haven't, I don't think I've ever told this to anybody in a podcast. Um, I used to go to a cash advance store to get, because I was told originally that when I first started that you have to have $500 down for EMD, right?
Okay.
Totally baloney, but I
Yeah.
was told that in the very beginning. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, I don't have 500 bucks, but how can I get 500 bucks? Right. And so I went to a cash advance store. I got the 500 bucks, right? I put that down as my EMD. We'd get the deal closed. And then guess what? I would pay back the 500 bucks, right? And so, you know, a big mindset shift for people when they're first getting started is to not think about like not say, you know, limiting thoughts like I can't do this or I
Yeah.
can't do that or I want to do this but I can't do that, right? That's scarcity and that'll just keep people stuck.
Yeah.
Got to flip it and start thinking about how can I do this?
Mm.
How can I do this? How can I make this happen? And then when you do that, it switches your mindset to abundance thinking. And then amazingly, options open up, opportunity opens up, and it allows you to get on the path to what you really want.
Love it, man. That's one of the first things I learned as I was getting into this. I've been doing about 6 years, and one of the first things I learned
Nice.
was it's my mind. Like I have to fix myself. That's what the issue is here. Change the way that I see things and how I perceive and how I
Yeah.
answer back the universe. So that's awesome. You
Yeah.
mentioned cold calling. So I'm a huge cold calling advocate, but it seems like whole cold calling isn't sexy anymore, man. So are you still cold calling? I mean, is that what you're recommending people to do?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the number one strategy for my for me and just anybody that wants to get into it and ask me how they should get started is cold calling. And the reason I like cold calling is because cold calling can give you a foundation that nothing else can give you,
Yeah.
right? 90 days of cold calling can give you a 10-year education in sales and marketing.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, the goal is to get as many no's out of the way as possible and get like just thrown into the deep end so you can experience the worst, which is people telling you no over the phone, right? Which is not a big deal once you realize what no really means.
Yeah.
And then to get closer to that yes, and there's no other marketing channel that can do that quickly, right? I used to send mail when I first started too. And I remember sending letters and just like waiting for people to call
Yeah.
me. But what I love about cold calling is it's instant connections with sellers. Like you could literally pick up the phone right now and talk to someone who needed to sell their house. So
Yeah.
that's why I love cold calling.
Yeah, man. Me too. I do some PPL and some
Hmm.
SEO leads that come in, and by far those leads are so much better in my opinion, right? But there's just something about, taking that time, talking to some sellers and giving offers. I was talking to someone the other day, and up here
Hmm.
it's snowing really bad. Like it's been nobody wants to sell, appointments have been, canceled. So I pulled a land list and here I go. Everybody was willing to sell today. There's somebody on that list that wants to sell, no matter what the
Yeah.
weather is. So I just like cold calling. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so as far as your coaching goes, I know you're coaching, you're out here helping people. What is that process like for people, for anyone who might be interested?
Yeah, great question. So, people come to me and I like to learn a bit more about what they're looking to accomplish. I don't take on everybody, so it's not just because someone has a credit card, they can come on board. I'm really selective of who I bring on board because I want to make sure it's a good mutual fit, you know?
Yeah.
So, so basically, when they come to me, they tell me what they're looking to do, what their goals are within a year. And then from there, we show them what it looks like to have that plan like reverse engineered and show them exactly like the activity they're going to have to do they'll do every single day to be able to reach that goal and stay on track. Because what I find one of people's biggest concerns is, you know, like, will I know what to do, right? I can set a goal, but how in the world do I hit it? Like most people I find they set goals, they have no idea how to go about hitting them. They're just like vanity goals. They're just like, I want to hit that because I want to hit it, right? So what we do is we give them our step-by-step system. From there, we have high accountability that keeps them on track to make sure they're constantly taking steps forward. We answer their questions to clear all that up, and then from there, provide them a clear path to getting to their first deal.
Awesome, awesome. So how can people, reach out to you about that? Because I mean, you've already gave so much free value. I could only imagine what the actual program is like. So how can they reach out to you to, talk with you to see if it's a good fit?
Awesome. Yeah, the best way to reach out to me is to connect with me on Facebook. Just shoot me a DM. My handle on there is at Chris Logan REI, and I also have a free group on there, free Facebook group. My link is in the bio, and they can join that. And when they come through, I'll connect with them and see where they're at and what makes the most sense.
Yeah, man. I'm just so impressed with you, Chris, and how willing you are to give out all of this information. So I'm curious to know, like, where did you get this from? Like, who have you been around to kind of, because you got to do that. If you're around people who's negative, you're going to be negative. So
Yeah.
who are your mentors that has helped you develop this?
Yeah, man. I've learned from so many people, and that was a big thing. Like when I first started, is like I didn't want to try and figure things out on my own because my time was valuable and I didn't want to waste it. And I also didn't want to risk like messing someone's up. Like I didn't want a seller to be worse off after they met with me,
Yeah,
like than before they met with me. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so I wanted to get the proper guidance. So I've invested in a lot of coaches. Just to name a few, Mark Evans, DM from back in the day. I don't know if you've heard of Mark Evans, Tom Kroll. I know you know who he is. Learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot from Joe McCall, Steve Morales. There's like so many
yeah.
people. The other guy that was doing the sales training. What's his name? John. Shoot, I can't remember his name.
Martinez.
There you go. John Martinez, learned a ton from him. Chris Voss. There's just so many people out there that do good things. And honestly, what I do is my mentality is always a student, right?
Yeah.
Even when I come across like other people in the game that are coaching like I am, like I'm curious as what they're doing because I'm super passionate about getting results for people. I feel like the focus isn't there enough in our industry and the psychology aspect behind it. So if I see another person out there crushing it and I see their students getting great results, I'm like, what are they doing? You know? And obviously I'm always looking to further my own game too, so I can continue to learn and just be a better investor, the best version of myself and the best leader for my family too.
Awesome, man. Before we're running out of time, but before we get off here, I know that a lot of people who's going to be watching this, they might be wanting to get into virtual wholesaling. They might have a job, they might have time constraints. What is one thing you can leave with them today, just for like motivational purposes before we head out of here?
Yeah. Um, Biggest thing that I would say is to take a step, right? Take one step forward because here's the thing, a lot of people put off what they really want in life because they don't make the time and they don't make it a priority, right? But it's really easy for you to wake up 10 years later and be like, man, what happened, right? So if you're thinking about getting started in real estate, turn that thinking into action and get started today. There's a saying, I think it's a Chinese saying. They said that or maybe Warren Buffett said it, I don't know, but they said the best time to get started in real estate was yesterday. The second best time is today. And that couldn't be more true.
Love it, man. I appreciate you so much, and I'd love to have you back on here maybe in the next, before the year's over with, maybe every six
Yeah,
months or so. I can just grab a hold of you and say, "Hey, come talk to me." Uh,
absolutely, man. I'm down. I've had a blast today. This is good.
yeah, man. I mean, you just gave so much value here. I'm just like, yes, this is what I wanted from you. So I'm
Awesome.
gonna put your Facebook link in the description of this video. So for anybody
hmm
that wants to contact you, that wants to get into virtual wholesaling, which I totally recommend them to contact you, but that'll be
Yeah.
accessible for them.
hmm Awesome. Very good. That sounds cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for coming, and I hope you have a good day.
Yeah. Thanks, Travis. It's great being on today and have a great one.
Thank you, man.
Yep.